And greetings to the QCast and welcome to everyone. This is season 3, episode 13. Another one that I'm excited about. I guess I say that every time that I start this thing that I'm excited, but I genuinely have a blast doing this because I'm meeting people that are doing great things in the Division 3 world, and really excited. Another person that I've never met before until we just started this little conversation, Abe Woldeslassie. And Abe, you helped me out tremendously with the pronunciation. Did I get it right? Did I get it close, Abe?
On the money, on the money. It was perfect. So thank you.
Abe is the head men's basketball coach at Macalester, obviously a member of the MIAC, doing big things. And Abe, one of the cool things that I like to watch is a program being built. And I've called you guys out a few times nationally. I think it was on Hoopsville, kind of a conversation of like, who's your dark horse out there? And I threw Macalester out there because you guys are coming. Now, I don't know if it's this year, next year, the year after, but I'm seeing a program being built. Talk a little bit, if you would, around where you feel you are right now versus where you want to be.
Yeah. So this is my 5th year here, right? So, and I appreciate those words. I love the dark horse. That's a great thing, and we're gonna make this happen again, whether it's this year, next year. But yeah. So right now, this year we're 6-2, so we're 3-1 in the league. We had a tough loss last night, but all things considered, I'm so excited of where we are right now. When I first got here, the year before, the team had won 3 games, and our first year we won 7. And then second year we won 8. And I'm saying we, meaning myself, and then Connor Nord, who's our associate coach. So 7 wins and then 8 wins. And then the third year was kind of a wacky year with COVID. We only played 4 games, but we went 2-2. So we went 500 in year 3, right? So, and then year 4, we had 15 wins. We made the conference title game for only the second time in school history. We played St. John's, who ultimately ended up winning. We lost by 4, but had a lead in the second half. And just to be in that environment and to now say we have championship experience. Now in year 5, there's nothing's guaranteed, right? Just because you're there last year means you're going to be this year. But we feel that we have a team that's capable of winning a championship, and it's a great place to be.
Let's get back into kind of the program progression, because I want to dig into what you just went through. It's really incredible from year to year to year. Just quickly, I want to touch on tough game last night. You play perennial power St. John's, and I thought you were in great shape. 52-46, 12 and change to play. You had clawed back from being down pretty much all the first half. You had it to 6, and boy, at that point, nine scoreless minutes, somewhere in there. I think you only scored 4 points the remainder of the game for the final 12 minutes. What did you see, Abe, in those final 12 minutes? I mean, what was it? Was it young team kind of playing a little bit scared there, or what transpired down the stretch against St. John's yesterday?
Yeah, I think it was a team, like you said. St. John's has won the past 3 MIAC championships, and it was a team that felt, talking about St. John's, that had been there and maybe just a little more confident, and that as the game went on, they were where they wanted to be. And maybe I don't know if it was legs, I don't know if it was shot selection, certainly coaching. It's a factor of a lot of different things, but they just were the more disciplined team. They ran their stuff better, and a big learning experience for us. Disappointing, truthfully. And no, man, Pat McKenzie, great coach. It's no knock on them or anything, but I feel like we all feel like we could have performed better, and we just didn't. And I guess whether you lose by 1 or you lose by 20, it's still a loss, and you got to move on. And now we play Bethel on Saturday, so we're getting ready for Bethel. But yeah, definitely a disappointing night, no doubt.
Now, all said, you sit here 6-2 and 3-1 in the league. And let's kind of go back over what you just talked about. So you get the job, and the year before in 17-18, Macalester went 3-22 and 2-18 in the conference. Again, your first year you win 7, second year you won 8. COVID year, last year was the one that got everyone's attention. I think you go 15-13, 9-10 in the league. I think the big thing, Abe, was that conference championship game against St. John's. I remember watching that game, and I don't remember the final score, but it had to have been close, like 3-4-5, right? And it was
75, 71, 75, 71. Yeah.
you guys
It's stuck in
you,
my head.
you guys amaze me. I mean, the way you guys remember scores is tremendous. And I remember watching that game, and it was tight. Both teams hit some enormous shots down the stretch. It felt to me like I was watching a program that was knocking on the door as I was watching that game. Even though that was a loss, and I know there's no moral victories and blah blah blah, but that had to feel like you guys were getting closer, right, to play them that tough at their place.
Yeah, and earlier in the year we lost, I think by like 24 or so.
Yeah,
And the second time, we play everybody twice in our league, and so the second time, maybe we lost by 11, and then we ended up being the 6th seed in the playoffs. So then we won our first round game, and then we went to Carleton on the road and beat the 3 seed, and then went to Augsburg, who was the 2 seed, and we were down 15 in the second half, right? And continue to fight. And then you beat the 2 seed. It was kind of that thing. Well, do you foul up 3, right? And we chose to foul, and they made the first free throw. They missed the second. They got the rebound. We had a little bit of a deflection, and they just got the shot off, but a little bit after the buzzer. So it didn't go in, but maybe they would have reviewed it. I don't know. But so we stormed the court. I mean, it's a huge win. And then now you're going to the 1 seed St. John's, and we had so much momentum. We're up 7 in the second half.
right.
And I like how you put that. We're knocking on the door. It just wasn't our time, right? When you, as a coach, you can second guess everything, right? One more stop, one more score, and you win the game. And they just made 2 more plays than we did. But it was so cool for us to have that experience and to be there. And now it's how do you go from, trying to fight to get there to now actually winning a title. And, I'm honest with recruits about this. We've never made the NCAA tournament. It's never happened in the history of this for men's basketball. Never happened. Right. So some recruits might run from that, and that's okay. But then the ones who are here want that as a challenge, right? To say, hey, we're going to be the first to do that. And then, hopefully then you make it and you start winning and go from there. But so we are knocking on the door, and now we got to kick the door down and get through.
And certainly we'll talk a little bit about recruiting and where you find your kids. You've already landed some good ones for this year, which I never know the rules, so I don't ask anyone.
I don't even know the rules. I don't even know the rules. So we have 4. I'm not naming names, but we have 4. So
yeah, I mean, I can name one of them because Illinois Wesleyan Yeshiva recruited a kid, and he's 6'7". But you shouldn't talk about him because I don't want any NCAA violations on the show.
Hey, man, I got my AD all over, so we can't be doing that. But we are very excited about the 4 that are coming in, and we only have 1 senior on our team this year. So right now we're starting 2 sophomores, 2 juniors, and then 1 freshman, and then our first 3 guys off the bench are freshmen, sophomore. So I don't want to play that game of we're young, because it's not even about being young. It's just the reality of where we are. But we're really talented, and there's belief, and like I said, we're 6-2. So yeah. Do we wish we were 8-0? Of course, but 6-2 is a great spot to be.
Abe, I wanted to talk about your path to where you are. One of the most interesting parts of any of these QCast conversations is understanding how you got from where you grew up to this point now. And you grew up in Minneapolis. You played high school basketball at St. Thomas Academy, I believe, and you started out at Division III then. St. Thomas, right? How did you go from the Tommies to Macalester? You transferred in there, and what transpired to lead you from one place to the next?
Yeah, so when I was a senior at St. Thomas Academy in Mendota Heights, which is a suburb of St. Paul, and it's kind of a late developer. I played JV as a junior, and then senior year of high school, played varsity, and then I was recruited by 4 of my ex schools, so St. Thomas, Augsburg, Hamlin, and Macalester. And full transparency, I applied to Macalester. I didn't get in. I got into the other 3 schools, ended up choosing St. Thomas, built a really strong relationship with Johnny Tower, who at the time was an assistant coach, is now the head coach of the Division I Tommies. A great guy. We're very close to this day. And So I ended up playing JV there for 2 years. So there was, a JV and a varsity team. I played JV for 2 years and felt like, I wanted to play varsity and I wasn't quite there at St. Thomas. And so I ended up applying as a transfer to Macalester and then playing 2 years of varsity at Macalester. So
Playing very well too. So you were all MIAC. You were the assist leader for Macalester for 2 years. Actually, the assist leader for the league. 17 points a game, 5.5 assists per game. This is probably the second point guard in a row that I've had on the Q cast. I assume, Abe, since you were dishing these assists out, that you were a point guard. Is that correct?
it's the only position I ever played. I'm 5'7", so there's always that thing where shorter guys want to play center and bigger guys want to play point. But point guard my whole life, and really I'm obsessed. If you were to ask our players, I talk so much about passing. It's just we have so many great shooters, but it's like if in football you talk about the quarterback, in baseball you talk about the shortstop, in soccer it's the midfielder, and it's all about the pass. It's all about setting up the next guy, and I really believe that. And if you have enough guys on your team that not only can see the pass but can make it, eventually you get a great shot, right? And then you let it fly. But yeah. So I did lead. I appreciate you saying that. I did lead the league in assists for 2 years, and very proud to not only have played here but now get to coach here.
Something about that point guard spot that makes for good coaches. Again, I mentioned that Ryan Kane from Keene State was my last guest on here, or 2 guests ago, I should say. Actually, this is 3 point guards in a row, because Dave Kalatsky of NYU is a point guard. Head coach of my school, Ron Rose, is a point guard. So there's something that makes an awfully good coach out of a guy that is the floor general, Abe. Am I breaking news on the QCast, or would you agree with me right here?
No, you're hitting on the head. That's true. Yeah, I think a lot of it, you got to be an extension of the coach on the floor. You got to not only know your role, but what the other 4 guys are doing. And so there's a lot of not that big guys, plenty of big guys can coach too, but you do see that a lot with point guards. There's an instinct of being a leader and being not just doing the right stuff, but vocally leading. And so I'm honored to be. I don't know if I'm the 3rd or the 4th point guard in a row, but let's keep the streak going.
I will have to go back and check on this, and I'm gonna have to look for like a 6'8" guy next, I think. Did you, when you graduated, I know that you ended up your first job, you ended up at Bowdoin as an assistant coach. Did you know you wanted to be a coach? Like when you were a senior at Macalester, did you know you wanted to get into the profession?
Yeah, I put my name into the draft. David Stern didn't call it right in the NBA. So I always tell our players, hey, coaching is the second best thing, right? If I could play there's a reason LeBron James and I guess Chris Paul, guys about my age, are still playing. If I could play in the NBA, I'd play in the NBA. I'm not good enough. So I'm doing like my second dream. My first dream was the NBA. This is my second. So yeah, high school coach and teacher or college coach. That's what, I always eventually wanted to do. And was very lucky to, get it coach at Bowdoin College, Division III school in Maine, worked for Tim Gilbride, who's now retired, but coached for over 30, I think 33 years, maybe 35. And for that to be my first college job in the NESCAC, which is an amazing league and really competitive, and to get a chance to recruit, I grew up in Minnesota. I never thought I'd live in Maine, and I got a chance to live in Maine for 2 years and built so many connections in New England. And now, we've been able to recruit New England players to Macalester, and a lot of that started from, being at Bowdoin. I was there 2010 to 2012. So.
And you saw some great NESCAC teams. I mean, ever since the NESCAC officially got in the mix in Division III, they have been a powerhouse. I know you were there during a lot of great teams, saw a lot of great teams. When you were at Bowdoin as an assistant, would you agree that Division III assistant world isn't like being the assistant at North Carolina? It's not super glamorous, and you do a million things that people have no idea about. Was it a little bit of a wake up call to oh, this is how it goes, or did you walk in the door there knowing exactly that world?
Yeah, I think, playing at Macalester, right? Having that Division III experience as a player, you have an idea, but you don't, I guess, fully know until there's one thing to play basketball. There's another thing to coach the game, and all that goes into the preparation. And you're driving the van and you're on the phone and you're
Right.
trying to order the pizza and you're trying to figure out where do you park and like, where's the ice scraper to, you're in, like, we're driving 2 hours north and, then you're getting back and you're doing the laundry. Like you're just doing so many things. Right. And this was back in 2010 where like synergy, I don't think existed, or if it did, we didn't have the budget
I
for
don't
it.
think so.
Like you had like the VHS and the stopping, and not to like date. Cause as we all get a little older, we all talk about how it was back then, but that's the reality. Right. So, yeah, it was an amazing experience, and to be able to play, again, growing up in Minnesota, like you hear the NESCAC, but I didn't know about it as much until you're actually out there. And like you said at the time, Williams made the Final Four, championship games. Middlebury had a Final Four run. Amherst was very good. We were, a mid to upper mid level NESCAC at the time. Made the conference playoffs. Didn't make an NCAA tournament run, but just to see that level of play, and this, and everyone who's going to listen to this probably knows this, but the really high level Division III guys are as good as the Division II guys, and even like the low Division I level players. So it was really cool to see that firsthand as a coach. So
you had two stints after. And by the way, you haven't yet coached at a bad academic school. Not that there is one in Division III for sure, but you go to Dartmouth as the director of basketball operations, and then Davidson in the same role. For those that don't know, can you explain, Abe, the role of the director of basketball operations? It sounds cool to me. Like I think at some point I want to get that job. It sounds awesome. Like, what do you do as the director of basketball operations?
Yeah, I would say it depends on where you are, but generally speaking, at the time when I was director of ops, I always viewed it as like a part coaching role and then a part almost like a secretary / logistics role, right? So you do almost everything the assistant coaches do, except you can't recruit off campus. You're limited in terms of the on-court coaching, but you're at every practice, at every game, at every film session. You travel with the team. When you're on the road, whether it's the bus, whether it's hotels, whether it's meals, whether it's shoot around times, whether it's laundry, the logistics part of it really comes into play then. And then you're almost like the fourth assistant coach, right? So you're in some ways can help prepare scouts, but you're not like actually giving the scout. And so it's a great way, at least for me, who I didn't play Division I, I didn't have any family coaching or anything. It was a great way to go from Bowdoin, which is a high academic D3, to Dartmouth, which is an Ivy League school, but non-scholarship. So in some ways, it was a great bridge to get to Division I and see how our programs run. And I worked for another great coach, Paul Cormier, who had a lot of MBA experience. And so to get that, to not have to sacrifice the academic piece, but still get Division I was awesome.
Yeah, seems like a really important role. Shout out to University of Dallas and Texas Dallas. They're both 15 minutes from me. If anyone wants to hire me as the director of basketball ops, it seems like something I'd like to interview for. Then the stop at Siena. So now you get back into the assistant coaching world. How did you get that gig? How do you go from the Davidson director of basketball ops to the assistant coach at Siena? What was the connection there? How'd that play out?
Yeah, one of the assistants that I worked with at Dartmouth ended up leaving Dartmouth and going to Siena. And so I was the director of ops at Davidson for 3 years and had, again, a great experience working for Coach McKillop, who's the ultimate leader, the ultimate gentleman, the ultimate coach. And what's interesting about Davidson is, I'm at Macalester now. We have 2,200 undergrads, no grad students. Davidson has 1,900 undergraduate students and no grad students. So to compete at the Division I level, where we were in the Southern Conference my first year, then the Atlantic 10, my last 2 years there, go to the NCAA tournament, 2 NIT. It's just amazing what we were able to accomplish there at a school of that size.
Yeah.
I was there after Steph Curry. I didn't coach him or anything like that, but just to see that and learn from Coach McKillop was great. And then going, like I said, one of the assistants I worked with at Dartmouth went to Siena. An assistant at Siena left, so there was an opening. And so, like a lot of these things, it's word of mouth. And I felt like I was ready to be an assistant coach. I was happy at Davidson, but no one was moving on, and it was just it was time, I felt, to make that next step. So I ended up coaching there for 2 years under Jimmy Patsos, who was a great I always say I get a great education from Jimmy on the court and off the court. He was a very unique individual. If anyone knows Jimmy, he worked for Gary Williams, Maryland for 13 years as an assistant. And they won the national title, and I think 02 with like Lonnie Baxter and Steve Blake, and some of those names. Jimmy was an assistant on that staff. And so my first year at Siena, we went to the MAC championship game. Unfortunately, lost the championship game by 1 to Iona in a tough overtime game. And then second year was a little rockier year, truthfully. And then as kind of that stuff was going on, the job at Macalester opened up. And so I left for about 10 years. And after those 10 years, came back home, and now going into year 5 here.
Was it a no-brainer when your alma mater's job opened up? I mean, was it like, that's the job I want, I am all in, whatever it takes, let's go find a way to get this? Or was it, was there some decision, you're at Siena and you can go a different route there? How did that all play out?
Yeah. Very truthfully, there was some thinking, right? Because I felt like I'd coached Division III and I'd coached Division I, and now I had a chance as a Division I assistant at Siena. And this coaching profession, you never know where it's going to take you. Right? I ultimately, I knew that I wanted to be a head coach. I wanted to live in a city. I grew up in Minneapolis. I really enjoy being in cities, and I wanted to have a chance to win. And so to be able to do that back home was amazing. I didn't know, you never know when jobs are going to open up, but timing's everything in life. And it was just the right timing where, truthfully, at Siena, we were struggling a little bit, and the Macalester thing opened up, and the stars were kind of aligning, and it was time to come home. So I'm so grateful that it was here. And, you never know. I hope I can be here a very long time. We have a lot of things we need to accomplish, but you never know where it's going to take you. But while I'm here, I'm extremely, extremely grateful.
How did you go about building culture? You walk in the door, I'm sure you inherited a bunch of guys that were there with the previous staff, and now you come in, you're the new guy, they don't know you, they know you played there, and that's great. But like, what did you do to start putting your stuff in and building your culture?
Yeah. So when I interviewed with the team, and they're kind of spitfiring questions, and one of the players asked, like, where do you see this program in 5 years? And I said, well, my hope is that by year 5, we're in a place where we're competing for a MIAC title and NCAA tournament berth. And none of you in this room will be here, right? Because by year 5, you guys would all have graduated. But while you're here, like, your job is to push the program a step further and a step closer to that dream. And so, like I said, we went from that 3-win team to 7 wins to 8 wins to weird COVID year, 4 games,
right,
15 wins. And right now, as we're talking, we're 6-2, and we're not promised to get more than 15 wins, right? You got to go earn that. But that was the vision, and it wasn't going to be easy. But I talked a lot about how, understanding what these guys go through as a student, as an athlete, living in Minnesota. We got really cold winters here, and it's long, and it gets dark, and the school work's tough, and there are a lot of challenging things about being here. But with challenge comes growth and opportunity. And so I didn't come in and say, well, year 1, we're going to win 20 games. No, you're just kind of setting yourself up. But slowly but surely, we were going to get there. And I feel like we're right on track. And this is year 5. And I feel like we're on pace. Again, I'm not going to say, well, we're going to win the title this year. We got to go earn it. But we're at a point now where we've earned the right to say that we can compete for a MIAC title.
Yeah, you're a contender. You're a contender in the league right now, and everyone would say that. And you're in the middle of things, right?
Yeah.
In terms of recruiting, and I think everyone knows that Macalester is a fantastic school, incredibly selective school, hard school to get into, to say the least.
It's a lot harder now than when I applied.
You didn't get in.
I didn't even get in, but you know what? But I got in as a transfer. So the thing I tell our guys is, all you guys now, no one had to transfer in. I had to transfer in. You guys didn't have to transfer in.
Right.
Right. So it's even harder now, but my story is a story of persistence. Right. So when you think it's tough, it was tough for me too, but I fought and I graduated. So whenever we're in practice, I actually can't say this anymore, but I used to be able to say I'm the only graduate because our players have graduated. But now we have a new assistant, Dylan Kilgore, who graduated in 2017. So I can't say that anymore. But so now there are only 2 graduates in the gym.
Right.
It's myself and Dylan. So if I can make it through, because we got finals coming up next week, which is on everyone's mind, then you guys are going to be just fine. So
it's a hard place to get into. We can agree on that, Abe. It's a great school.
Yeah.
I think all the schools in Division III have their niche, and the best coaches know how to go find the guys that fit their niche. You're in position to do really national recruiting. You're in position to get kids from a lot of different places. How do you, again, without giving out like secrets that are key to your deal, how do you find your kids? Like, how do you get kids to Macalester? How does that all work?
It is relentless and true, like to be as truthful as possible. We'll say, we talk about the Minnesota winners, and we've lost recruits because of that, but that's okay.
Sure.
We talk about how we've never made the NCAA tournament. So you can go somewhere where it's already been done, or you could be the first. Now, hopefully I'll have to change that, right? But until then, we haven't made it. And so the opportunity to be the first to ever do something is a really cool thing, right? We talk about our location, like being in a city. So we're 10 minutes from downtown Minneapolis. We're 10 minutes from downtown St. Paul, and we're 10 minutes from the airport. So in terms of easy access, getting in and out, jobs and internships and stuff like that. It's a really diverse student body. So we have students from all 50 states. So there's one student in Macalester from every state in the U.S.
Wow.
There's one student at Macalester from over 90 countries. The highest I've heard is 98. I would just say 90 plus, because I don't know what the exact number is right now, but it's over 90. And, we talk about our coaching staff, and, I played in the league. My now associate head coach, Connor Nord, he was an assistant for you, and I got the promotion, played at St. Thomas, when they were Division III, and was, I'm a 5'7" point guard. He's a 6'6" big. So whenever we stand, you can tell who's the big and who's the guard. And he's done a great job with our bigs, and he's our defensive coach and all that. So yeah, those are some of the things we talk about. And then, ultimately, we're going to lose recruits, like every coach is and every school is, but the ones you end up finding are the ones that are the right fits for MAC. So we've had, what I'm really proud of going into year 5 now, we've only had 1 student transfer in. We've had 2 students transfer out, and one transferred back home, East Coast, 1 transferred back home, West Coast. Right. But I think that's pretty good in the era of the transfer portal and all that.
Yeah.
We've had 1 transfer and 2 transfer out. So I think we've done a good job of finding the right academic fits, the right basketball fits, and the right social fits.
Are there a couple schools that you guys run into all the time, like Illinois Wesleyan? I think Ron Rose would tell me that seems like we bump into Wisconsin Oshkosh a lot, and Augustana and Wash U. There's some regulars that Illinois Wesleyan recruits against. Are there 2 or 3 schools that you just time and time again are going up against?
Well, Carleton, who's in our league for
Sure.
one, for sure, right? In fact, I think my first 3 years, there were 6 recruits that we both recruited, and all 6 went to Carleton. So that
Wow.
I was over 6, right? That's the truth. And then I think the 7th chose us. So it's persistence. Pomona Pitzer seems like one,
Yeah.
it's a great, shoot, if you want, again, amazing program, tremendous school, great coach. If you want weather, don't come to Minnesota. Like we're going to just lose every time, period. And that's okay. That's all right. No problem.
Right.
And then, sometimes my good friend Ryan Mee, who's at Vassar, there are times where, we'll hear a kid that's looking at Vassar. We had lost a kid to Johns Hopkins, Josh Leffler, Johns Hopkins, recently. So, the high academic D3 world, there are a lot of times that it might be one recruit here, one recruit there, and right, you're gonna win some, you're gonna lose some. That's just the reality. But eventually, there's only one ball, right? So we try to keep our roster around 15. We don't have a JV, so you want to have it where, because then the more you keep adding, it's like, well, you look down the bench and it's tough. You can't play everybody. So if we can have 13 to 15 guys every year that are, right now we're at 14, which is a sweet spot. It's not going to be 14 every year, but we're at a great spot.
That's really interesting. I like to kind of understand who people are recruiting against and competing with. That's cool stuff. Let's just talk about your guys a little bit. There's four guys I want to talk about. Your leading scorer on the season is a 6'2" junior guard, Caleb Williams, who's averaging 18.6 rebounds, 3 assists. Talk a little bit, if you would, about your leading scorer, Caleb Williams.
Caleb is a tremendous athlete. He's a 4.0 GPA in physics. He was all conference last year in basketball, and he was also all conference in the triple jump.
That's pretty good.
Right. I mean, Division III, you can it's rare. You don't see it all the time, but to have those stats, amazing athlete, great scorer. He had, I think his high this year was 36, and we had an overtime win against Wartburg earlier this year. And just a guy, when the clock is running down and the ball's in his hands, he finds a way to get a shot off, right? He hits the level of difficulty sometimes on his shot is at a 10, right? These fadeaways, and he'll hit these like pro shots that I don't coach. He just has it in him, and he finds a way. Caleb's from a small town, Wild Rose, Wisconsin, population 725. I mean, small town. Credit to Connor Nord, our associate coach who found him. And we're so lucky he's here. A captain, like I said, all conference second team last year. And if we have the season that I think we can have, he'll be in the running, for MVP candidate.
Sure. Did you have to battle any with Wisconsin intercollegiate WIAC schools for him? I mean, Wisconsin kids that get out of there, that doesn't happen a ton, but that must have been competitive, right?
Yes, I don't want to name that. There were a couple.
Okay.
But yes, and a tough battle for sure. And again, we talked a lot about having the opportunity to do some things that we've never done here before. And not that he's guaranteed it, you've got to earn it, but we thought that, if he came here as a freshman, we felt like he was going to earn a starting spot and battle for that. And his freshman year was that COVID year, we only had 4 games. Right. So he's a junior academically, but the NCAA, you could argue he's a sophomore because he's got that COVID year and all that. But tremendous scorer. I think he's second right now on our team in rebounds. I think he's leading us in assists, and I know he's leading us in steals. So you talk about a guy that does so much of everything, and we would not be where we are without Caleb.
Another guy who does a lot of good stuff for you, 6'2" sophomore guard, Kobe Gold, 15 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. He's having a big year for you. Talk about Kobe.
Tremendous shooter. I think he's right around 40% from 3. Great passer, second in assists for us. He's our most creative player. I mean, he's able to, when he's in pick and roll, he just, there's a pass that I'll see. I'm like, I hope he sees that. And it's one thing to see it, and it's another thing to make it, and he does both. And sometimes, he's like a home run hitter. Sometimes we tell our guys, hey, hit singles, not home runs all the time. He'll make some plays that you're like, I don't know, and then it kind of gets through, and you're happy with it. And then some other times, like, you probably shouldn't make it, but tremendously creative, versatile, can play 1 through 3 for us. If we go small, he can play the 1. If we go a little bit big, if we go big, he can play the 1. If we go a little small, he can play the 3. And emotional in the right ways, right? He's just a great leader and a tremendous passer and a really great shooter. Like I say, he's right around 40. So
another guy, a 6'4" freshman that you're playing, it's hard to get out on the floor as a freshman, is Eric Wentz. 11 points, 2 rebounds. He's shooting 46% from 3. Talk a little bit about your freshman, Eric Wentz.
Eric, if you closed your eyes and you walked into our gym, you might hear a guy yelling and screaming, but what's going on? And you would hear Eric Wentz. He's just like, he's the loudest guy in the right way. He's emotional in the right way. From Minot, North Dakota, right? So we recruited some other high academic D3s. He talked about wanting to be in a city, and he's the youngest of 5. And so we kind of came in late in his recruitment. And so, there are guys sometimes that you recruit for a year and a half and you don't get. And there are some guys that you recruit for 2 months and you do. And he was kind of that latter. And he's coming off the bench for us as a freshman. Has had double figures, I think, in all but 1 game so far. And he's our energizer bunny. He gets to the rim really well, finishes at the basket. But like you said, he's shooting around 45 from 3. So versatile. Like freshmen, I think sometimes the physicality of the game can affect him, but a tremendous score off the bench.
And a good model for you to recruit North Dakota. I mean, these kids think it's like Miami Beach coming to Minneapolis or Minnesota. So it's all good.
Yeah, there was like a time I think it was in April, where the snow was kind of melting here, and they got like 1.5 feet of snow, and he opened up his garage, and the snow, he had to shovel so he could snowblow.
Oh my God.
He had to shovel it
That's
low
rough.
enough so coming to Minnesota, I love how it is Miami. So
And, before I lived in Dallas, I'm from Chicago. I lived in Lincoln, Nebraska before we came here.
I see the
And
Chicago street signs in the back.
exactly, Chicago and New York.
And New
So
York,
my wife grew up she was born in New York, and I was born in Chicago. So it's an homage to our birthplaces. And I'm done with winter for good. I'm done with winter, but stories of snow like that scares the daylights out of me now, being soft and down here in Dallas.
You're getting soft. I was going to say it until you said it, but but it is what it is. That's all right. But hey, we tell these guys, you can live wherever you want for 4 years, right after these 4 years.
Right.
But you've only got, and what you're left with when you graduate, wherever you go, it's the degree, it's the relationships, it's the network and the memories. Like that's what you're left, right? The gear, whatever, stops coming, and the shoes stop coming, and the fans stop cheering. And like you're left with those 4 things. And then if you want to go live in Miami, it's funny you say it, one of my classmates that I played with here lives in Miami now.
Wow.
I have another friend that lives in Scottsdale. I got another friend that lives in Portland, Oregon, and one in Chicago. And so some stayed here, but
get a degree from Macalester. You can do a lot of different things, right?
You can go. I got another teammate lives in London. So it's a really cool thing, but yeah, the winters are what they are, but it's basketball season. We're in a gym.
That's the best time of year. And final guy I want to talk about is the wow factor, the guy that jumps off the screen. Help me with pronunciation. Badou Ba?
Badou Ba.
Badou Ba. So
hold off the tongue. Yeah.
Hey, we got to talk about this guy. He's 6'7", sophomore, and he's averaging 11 and 9. And he's shooting 56% from the field. I don't think he's even figured out half of it yet. And he's unbelievable. Like he is, the way I would describe it is he's raw, but he's really good, even as just a raw guy that seems to, like, every time I watch a game, it's like, oh, he's better than I watched last week, and he's better than last week. He's from Senegal. He's the son of a diplomat or something. Coach, how do you get Badou Ba to Macalester? You got to tell me the secret here. What happened?
Man, I wish I sometimes I wonder how it even happened, but it's just been amazing how far he's come. This is Badou's 4th year of playing on a basketball team, right? Like 4th year. So it's not even, well, is it month to month or week to week? It's like minute to minute he improves.
Right.
It's like the first half of practice, and all of a sudden the second half, he's better. We worked on some zone offense today, and we put him at a few different spots, and it was spots he's never been in. I just wanted to see what was it going to look like. And he was making passes that I'd never seen him make. Right. So he went to a prep school out east, Williston, Northampton, which is in a town called East Hampton, Massachusetts. And I knew his prep school coach. And if you go back again a few years, he didn't play AU. So that's one thing.
Right.
COVID, he didn't have a season. So they were just like practicing at school. Like you said, he's from Senegal. So his parents, he's the oldest of 5. And so he lived in Senegal for a bit. He lived in France. His parents were in Chad, like the country Chad, for a little bit. But then he went to, like I said, a prep school in Massachusetts. And, we recruited him, and a couple other UAA schools, which we won't mention, recruited him as well. And again, we talked about the opportunity to play and how he's raw just because he's so new to the game.
Yeah.
But we saw his highlights, and you're sitting there and you're like, there's no one in our league that does that, what he's doing, and it's right. Highlights you can kind of clip and just show the good stuff, right? There's always things that aren't as good, but I think what sets him apart and how he's gotten so much better is just his motor. And to see again, and I've said this to Badou, like last year at the start of the year, we couldn't like play him. He was rawer than raw, right? Sometimes you hear like Fran Fraschilla say, like he's 2 years away from being 2 years away, or right. Like, and so when they talk about draft picks, and but you're seeing him do things now where, and this is, I've been lucky enough, I've coached at 3 Division I schools. He's as athletic, if not more,
Sure, yeah.
than every single player I coached at the. I'm not saying right now he's there yet, but he's going to be that good.
Right.
And again, his motor, he asks so many questions. And again, I want to give Connor Nord a lot of credit. I'm a 5'7" point guard. I've never played the 4 or the 5. So every day before practice, after practice, Connor Nord's, he's got the computer, he's watching film with them, or, he's doing footwork stuff. And he's a sponge, and it's getting scary how good he is. And I'm just so excited to see not only where he is now, but where he's going to be in January and February. And hopefully we're playing in March.
And you mentioned highlight films, these recruiting highlight films, which came into play, I don't know, 15 years ago or something. And, people will always say, well, the kids shoot, 100% on the highlight film. But yeah, the guy is still, 2 feet over the rim, grabbing a rebound in the highlight film. And he's still dunking it like amazingly. Like there's things in these highlight films that are really valuable. Don't you? They're not just all silly. I mean, I watch these things and I'm like, if that's what that guy can do, let's go.
Yeah. It's just, you can't, he has God-given gifts that you can't coach. And I don't know where, at one point, again, it's early this year, but at one point I think he was top 5 in blocks, and, maybe he's top 10 now, I don't know, but he's averaging over 3 a game. And just his timing, again, I didn't coach that. Connor didn't coach that. He just kind of has that.
Right.
Some of the footwork, where to be offensively and things like that, when to screen, when not to. Like, he's still learning that, but he's been tremendous. I mean, if there's one flaw of mine right now, it's like we haven't given him the ball enough. He's
right.
shooting 55% from the field, and
yeah.
he should probably be touching the ball more.
Right.
So that's something that we'll continue to add as the season goes on. And we have one more game Saturday, and then we have a pretty big break, because we got finals and then guys go home and things like that. But there used to be, growing up, Randy Moss was the big receiver for the Vikings. And one of the coaches at the time, they had this thing called the Randy ratio, where you had to throw to him 4 out of every 10 times. And it's like, we might need a Badou ratio, like
right.
4 out of 10 times, he better touch the ball. I don't know. Like, there needs to be something, because he's too big and too athletic and too strong to not touch the ball more. So as a coach, that's something I got to be more aware of.
Yeah. For those that haven't watched Macalester play, Badou Ba is an amazing, just athletic talent. And he's pretty raw, but again, even where he is right now, really good player. So watch the Scots. You're going to love watching him, and everyone else for that matter. Abe, we've covered a lot of stuff here. I always like to throw it to the guest to finish us out. I'll just say on my end is I'm glad I finally got to talk to you. We've been corresponding a little bit behind the scenes and just checking in every now and then on things. And it's great to talk to you. And it's really impressive what you're building. Again, to come from that year 1 to that game last year where you almost got your team in the NCAA tournament for the first time. You almost had to change your recruiting pitch because you almost got in, right? It's been impressive to watch. What would you leave everyone with here on the QCast, Abe, today? There'll be some D3 fans, Macalester fans. What do you want people to leave here knowing?
Yeah, I want to say first up, Bob, just thank you for everything you're doing, for Division III basketball and the platform you're giving us. And I always tell people, social media is it's a tool you got to use wisely, right? It's like I say, it's like a gun or a knife. If you use it poorly, it can really hurt you. If you use it wisely, it can help you, right? And so I'm glad, I know we texted some social media and just following you and all that stuff. So thank you, first off. Secondly, for all those that are, hopefully keep following Macalester, because I am excited for what we built. And from President Rivera, who's our president, to Donnie Brooks, who's our athletic director, to our coaching staff, to players, to alums, and all that. We are in such a great spot, and it's exciting, and we're not where we want to be. I'm tired of the recruiting pitch of having to say we've never made the NCAA tournament. I want to change that. I'm tired of saying that all the time, but it's true. And eventually it will change. And then we'll have to say, well, we want to make the Sweet 16 or, whatever.
Right.
But, and then thirdly, I would say for any, if there are any young aspiring coaches, I'm not an old coach. I'm not a young coach. I'm in this kind of tweener area, right? I've been doing it since 2008. So 14 years, right? So I'm a veteran. I wouldn't say I'm on the older, I'm on the younger, and I'm somewhere in the middle. So for any younger or older aspiring coaches that ever want to reach out, feel free to email me. I'm very good at getting back. So we have open practices. So anyone that's local that wants to come to practice, feel free. And I joked about the Deion Sanders thing, the I'm coming thing. I'm not Deion's. I really do appreciate Deion. That's not my style. I can't do that. I didn't play in the NFL. He played in the NFL. He played Major League Baseball. He can kind of say what he wants to say. He's kind of earned the right to say what he wants to say. I'm not there, but I do like to think Macalester's coming. So we're not there yet, but we're on our way. So whoever's following, keep following us, and we're excited for the road ahead.
And I think you taught me how to say Woldeslassie, right? How about you say your last name, and I want to compare how I'm saying it.
Yes. Yeah. So Abe Woldeslassie.
Woldeslassie. I think I'm in the ballpark, Abe. Would you say I'm in the ballpark?
I've seen it misspelled and mispronounced so many times. So you're on the money. So thank you for that. And man, this is pumped. So this is my first time on the QCast. It will not be my last time. So whenever we do this again, it's going to be a different story, but really fun for me to be able to do this. So
tell you what, just like you give your players a little incentive, we've never played in the tournament. When you get yourself in the tournament,
I'm coming back.
You're coming back to the QCast. Like the 2 nights before that game, not the night before, you'll be too nervous. 2 nights before that tournament game, you're coming on the QCast, and it's going to be a celebration, my friend. Is that a deal?
We're doing it 30 minutes after we win the title. We're going to be in the locker room. I'm going to be on my phone, and I'm going to call you and say, hey, send me a Zoom link. We're doing it from the locker room. So.
Whenever you want to, but that's your incentive to get back to the QCast NCAA tournament game. Let's go. Folks, that's Abe Woldeslassie. Oh, see, I just screwed it up. I had it. Abe Woldeslassie, the head men's basketball coach of the Macalester Scots. They are coming. I promise you. Check them out. They're getting pretty darn good, and they're knocking on that MIAC door. Abe, thank you so much, and we'll talk very soon.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate you.